Hi there, welcome back to the Racing Post Football Postcast. I'm Dave Clark of the Racing Post, joined by colleagues Mark Langdon and Ian Wilkinson. We've also got Amanda Nee Coleman on the line from our friends and sponsors Paddy Power. 2 Sunday games to get stuck into in the Premier League. Mark Langdon, take us through Bournemouth versus Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's a poor start, isn't it, before we get to the real main course of Liverpool-Man City. Can't wait for that game, actually. Could be the best in the Premier League, I think, so far this season. But in terms of Arsenal-Bournemouth, I just can't back Arsenal at kind of the short prices away from home at the moment. They've only won 3 away matches in the Premier League. He sent out most of his big guns for the game against Chelsea on Wednesday. So a quick turnaround for Bournemouth. Like I said, them 3 away wins, that's the same as Newcastle. And it's at least, everyone else from the Big 6 has won at least 6 away matches. So they're a long way behind in being able to win these games. I think Bournemouth are on the up. They made a lot of changes for their FA Cup draw against Wigan. You have a look at sort of their recent performances. Not great defensively. I mean, they dominated the game against West Ham, and they still managed to concede 3 goals. But Begovic was at fault for at least one of those, maybe 2. And actually, I think the overall unit's playing quite well at the moment. Individual errors are costing them. I thought they were the better team against Brighton as well on New Year's Day. Scored a couple of goals, came from behind twice. They are scoring, and that makes them, I think, a threat. Not sure about them actually winning the game, so I'll go draw or Bournemouth on the double chance. I think it'll be a high-scoring game.
Do you think they'll try and take it to Arsenal?
I think they will, because that's kind of the way they play. But if you have a think back to earlier on in the season, I mean, Man City needed every second of their game to secure maximum points against them. They played really well at Old Trafford. They didn't deserve the kick in the teeth for losing that game, which I think suggests that they are improving in terms of sort of playing against the big teams. I was always wary of backing them against the big teams because of the amount of goals they conceded. Always give themselves a lot to do. Even when they got tonked at Man City, you actually have a look at the stats. They did better than a lot of other teams did at the Etihad, and the game just got away from them late on. So a tentative vote for Bournemouth or the draw. I just can't be backing Arsenal. It's a similar type game, really, in terms of level, where it's even harder than the West Brom game, and they didn't deserve to win, even though it was a dodgy refereeing penalty. They didn't play well in that game.
Let's get a show from Amanda then, because Arsenal saying that Mark suggesting that Arsenal far too short. What price are they in the Bournemouth and the draw?
Yeah, Arsenal are 4-6, Bournemouth 7-2, and the draw is up to 3-1.
Wilco, what do we think?
I'm not touching that 4-6. Thank you very much. As Mark's sentiments suggest, they are not a team to be trusted at these sort of prices, particularly on the road. I'm a bit concerned. I mean, they kept a clean sheet against Chelsea in the League Cup, and you would anticipate that they are going to be stronger in defence when Cech comes back, because Ospina didn't have a good game at Forest either in the Cup. But they just look so shaky at the back, Arsenal. I can't have any faith in them at all. They've kept 3 clean sheets in 11 away games, and since the 1st of January 2017, they've played 21 away games in the Premier League, and they've conceded at least twice in 11 of those games. And that run started with a 3-3 draw at Dean Court in January last year, 12 months ago. So I think Bournemouth can definitely threaten them and can put them under plenty of pressure. Like Mark, just not quite got the confidence in the Cherries to back them to win the match, but I'm quite interested in 7-4. The Cherries to score more than 1 goal. I think there's a decent chance that they can cause a shaky Arsenal defence plenty of problems.
I think if you were looking to back the 4-6, you'd only do it once you saw that Ozil and Sanchez were in the starting 11. I mean, because if they're not, and Wilshere went off, of course, against Chelsea in midweek, being one of their sort of best players in midfield. There's a doubt over Ozil. What was it, a knee injury, I think, and obviously Sanchez didn't start, wants to go to Manchester City. Lacazette's not scoring goals. Iwobi at parties less than 48 hours before matches. I mean, for a 4-6 shot, I think you'd want to see the big guns are out there before you back that. That's for sure.
What do you think the issue is with Lacazette? Because it seems again, Wenger's bought a striker who scored loads of goals in France. Like you took Chamac, Giroud,
I think that
Gervinho.
I think there's a couple of things. Maybe he's not quite technically quite as good as what they thought he might be. Because I was watching the game against West Brom, and like the 1-2s and everything were bouncing off him quite a bit. I think he maybe lacks a bit of fitness. He gets taken off after 65 minutes most games.
Like clockwork.
Yeah, and the other issue is that attacking unit, I don't think it's working well as a collective, and so it's always difficult for the individual to shine. Ozil's had his injury problems. I think they're a much better team when he plays. Sanchez looks like he's playing for himself. When he does play, he doesn't look like he's playing for the team either. So I think it's an awkward situation for him to go into with, their other two forward players, maybe on the way,
So he might be better when he's a bigger fish if they go.
Yeah, I think that, he'll be better when the collective was right, and the collective's not right, is it, at the moment?
Yeah, not a happy place there at the moment. Did see he went to celebrate when he scored, and half the team celebrated with him, and the other half just
Thierry Henry said there were problems there. I mean, you'd imagine he would know. I mean, it's not a great place, is it? I don't think at the moment. It doesn't look like a happy camp.
Right, Amanda, have you got a view on that game for us, Bournemouth-Arsenal?
Yeah, of course. Well, Arsenal, a very tough weekend for them. Of course, they really fell apart at the City ground. But I actually missed last night's match, but I heard that they were lucky enough to hold off the 7 shots on target against Chelsea. Yeah, I picked the right Chelsea-Arsenal match to miss anyway in the last few weeks. But yeah, Bournemouth, of course, 1 point off the drop zone here. They had a really tough run up to Christmas as well. 4 losses to the 4 big clubs, but they got 5 points from the 3 matches then, scoring 7 goals with a total of 25 shots on target. So that's a bit more promising, of course, but seriously let down defensively. Do I think they could put it to Arsenal? Slightly, but I'm still going to put up Arsenal to win here. And it's another familiar bet for me here, Arsenal and both to score. But that's priced up at 9-5. Or I was quite sweet and just Arsenal on the handicap -1, which is also 9-5.
Okay, right then. Well, I'll stay with you, Amanda. We've got the big one at 4 o'clock. Liverpool versus Manchester City, and how do Paddy Power price that one up?
Yep, just looking at the prices here. Liverpool 21-10, the draw 13-5, and Man City are 5-4. Now, before we talk anything else, I have to tell you about a fantastic offer we have here. I'm going to put on my big broadcaster voice here and sell it to you as much as I can, right?
Good stuff.
Yeah. We have money back, all losers, if Aguero scores at any time in this match. So that's on selected markets, including first goal scorer, last goal scorer, correct score, and a few more as well. So if you want to get involved with that match, money back, all losers, if Aguero scores at any time. Obviously, the quality we see week in, week out with City just keeps getting better and better. And no Jesus, which means Aguero certainly isn't going to get any respite. Of course, coming off the bench on Tuesday, to get that late winner for Man City. It shows really what he's all about. But I think that they could afford to drop a few points now, and it wouldn't surprise me if they start to do that now in the run up to the Champions League games as they creep a bit closer. This was actually the most popular match for City to lose this season, of course, to lose their unbeaten run. And this was the fav, of course. I think Liverpool are in a great position now, though. Obviously, they lost Coutinho last week, but that was expected. Excuse me. But I think they went about it really well. And, of course, Van Dijk now, he's going to shake up their defence. Lovren and Klavan starting to put a bit more work into it now, knowing that they have their work cut out for them. But, obviously, I think Salah's still going to be missing at the weekend with a knee injury, if I'm not mistaken there. But just looking at the way the goals have been going in, City have scored only 32% of their goals in the first half, where Liverpool have scored 42% of those. So backing when the first goal is going to come could be interesting here. 0-0 at half-time is priced up at 11-4, or a draw at half-time is at 13-10. But City, odds against, is not something that you're going to see often. And it's hard to pass up that value at 5-4.
Great stuff there from you, Amanda. First of all, Mark, that's special. Aguero, do we like that one?
Well, I mean, he's going to start, and he's their most likely goal scorer. So, I mean, I think if you factor that in, I mean, he's the most likely person to score, isn't he? In the game. I mean, we spoke at the time of the Manchester United game. Said, would that be the last time that City would be odds against to win a game this season? I think the fact that they're not at Anfield shows really where the market thinks of Liverpool. As probably second best team in the league, or certainly a much closer, say, to Chelsea and Manchester United than I think a lot of casual football fans would maybe sort of believe it is. We don't know who's right. I mean, maybe the market's got it wrong. I was looking at the draw for this game, actually. Be a good result, I think, for both teams. Liverpool keeps them sort of edging closer towards where they need to be at the end of the season, which is in the top 4. City have got points to play with, and you have a look at their away games in recent times. They've only actually scored twice in the last 3 away games. They had that 0-0 at Crystal Palace. Of course, they did 1-0 at Newcastle when they dominated. But I think Liverpool unbeaten at Anfield for a long time. Crystal Palace, the only team to have won there since the start of February of last year. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a really close game, a really interesting game. When 2 teams press, sometimes it can get a little bit helter-skelter and you don't actually see a lot of quality. I think there'll be quality, but I think it'll be very tight. And I thought Liverpool played really well at the Etihad for about 15 minutes before Mane got the red card. They were actually, if anything, the better team. I think this is going to be a close game. Don't want to be against City. Don't really want to be against Liverpool. Go for the draw.
How much a bigger miss will Coutinho be for Liverpool?
Yeah, maybe not so much in this game, depending on Salah's status. I think as long as they've got Salah, Mane and Firmino, I don't really see it as a problem. But obviously Coutinho could fill in one of those 3 attacking positions and then also gave you great creativity from central midfield. I actually think in a game like this, probably playing with 3 more solid central midfielders actually helps Liverpool out in some respects, and maybe it would have been like Mane that didn't play and Coutinho would have been one of the front 3, because it is you don't want to be too attacking against City, because you've got to respect the threat that they've got in midfield. So I think he's lost maybe being those kind of easier games where he can unlock a team with a bit of magic,
better shape for this one.
A set piece, but actually might give him a bit more defensive solidity against a City team that you have to. You get when people say, "Oh, you've got to attack them," you've got to attack. I think you've got to be sensible in when you try and nick the ball off them. But they are conceding maybe more goals now than what they have done earlier on in the campaign. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe teams are sort of working out the best ways to hurt them.
Looking forward to this one, Wilco?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. One of the byproducts of 2/3 of the league desperately trying to hold on to results against the bigger teams is that the games between the big teams this season have been really entertaining, absorbing stuff, and I'd anticipate that this would be another one. If City are going to go unbeaten this season, which we're now, is realistic, we're now talking about whether they are going to match the invincible team from Arsenal and do that, then this is a big stepping stone for them. It's a big hurdle, but I just don't know whether Liverpool are going to have that same sort of cutting edge with now that Coutinho's gone, and they're always still liable to the odd defensive error. Goalkeeping issues still. I can't understand why Klopp plays one goalkeeper in the Cup and one goalkeeper in the league. He should have a number 1 goalkeeper and stick with him. I think that affects the confidence of the players that he has. And I think that they could struggle, and the sight of Manchester City in a Premier League game at 5-4 is too attractive for me, really. I'll be back in the visitors.
Mark, just a quick word on this unbeaten run, as it were. Do you think that City be that bothered by it?
No, I think it's probably, of all their targets, it's probably at the bottom of the pile. I mean, obviously they'd love to do it, but I think that the concern for anybody that's backed it or is thinking of backing it now probably comes when the league's won, because there's a strong possibility they'll get it wrapped up a long time before Arsenal, because Arsenal's Invincibles drew a lot of matches, so it wasn't like they were like anywhere near as far clear. Obviously, City have got the biggest gap in Premier League history at this time. If it's won by sort of March or maybe April, early April, sort of Easter time or whatever, and they're in Champions League, FA, then their targets move to other competitions, and so that's when they become vulnerable in the league. Guardiola didn't manage to do it with Barcelona, nor with Bayern Munich, and there were times with Bayern Munich when he put out really bad teams, towards the end of the season when Bayern were in a similar type control of the
priorities
championship.
change,
I mean, they've got a good chance because they're running out of opponents for them in the hard away matches, as Wilco suggested there. But it may even be in like an easy home game against a relegation struggler where all of a sudden it's a League Cup team, and let's not forget that League Cup team struggled against Bristol City, needed penalties against Leicester, needed penalties against Wolves, fell behind against Burnley. So I think that's probably, if they wanted to do it, I think they could. But I think it's the bottom of the priorities. Quadruple, that's another matter. I mean, I think they fancy their chances in that.
Do you think they're better than that Arsenal team?
Yeah, I'm not even sure the Invincibles was Arsene Wenger's best Arsenal team. Just managed to get the 49 unbeaten. So I think they probably are better than that.
My only misgiving in that debate is that I always think that Arsenal team was better because they've got so much. They had so much ability, but the quality that they had, that if you turned up and you wanted a ruck, then they'd have one, and they had that physical power. Like, if you wanted to mix it, then they had the players who could do that and could deal with that as well. And the dirtier, tougher side of the game. And I don't know whether we've seen enough of that in this City game to draw that same conclusion at the moment.
Okay, good stuff. Looking forward to that one. 4 p.m. That one, Liverpool versus Manchester City.